Hello, team. And Jennifer, I cannot see you. Jennifer is coming with a different source. I invite you to center yourself, close your eyes, center yourself, put your intention on your physical center, check where your energetic center is. With your intention, put it on your physical center so they are overlapping, they are onto each other. And from there, declare your grounding cord, if not yet said, and your bubble of space. And as a space holder, I invite you also to hold space and create a golden cube, which is also grounded with a black grounding cord around 20 centimeters diameter. And please share your color of the grounding cord. Mine is purple.
Is orange.
Blue.
Green.
Blue.
Blue-green.
Thank you. Today we are harvesting and the space is open for reporting. What is working, and your necessity will shift shape the space. So we are now almost in the midst of the training, and you got all these challenges to do to hold space for newbies and mimetic engineering and starting to spread your non-material value. And how is it working? How does it go? What are the questions? And we are here to support you, that you succeed, that you thrive. And the space is open.
I had a session today with Nicole, and I want to share that I experienced how different it can be than to an EHP. I experienced a journey, and it leads from different spots in my life. And I'm here with in the sense that I touched a lot of important spaces, and it reconnects me with myself, and it wasn't catharsis or catexis in kind of like an EHP as I know so far. I was just, or I sensed I was seen, I was accompanied, I was reflected with completion loops. And somehow at the moment, it's like, that's enough. For me at the moment, that was really enough. And it didn't need to be something fancy. And at the end, it was very, very deep going for me, even though it was not so emotional. I know EHPs.
And what is your this is your personal sharing, right?
Yes.
As we are here in a group of fellow space holders, and we are training
Yes.
each other as space holders, what is your turn on? Like what is your takeaway for you as a space holder? So
That
what is the difference, or this is one example, but what is one difference between, I heard you EHP and the possibility coaching session. So how do you say this?
what I take with me is it is enough just to follow the client. It doesn't need to lead somewhere, and it doesn't need to be pushed somewhere. And inside of me happens a lot, even though in the outside, probably it doesn't look like that. And I wanted to encourage with my report to trust that the client knows. And there was also a very important question at the beginning. I said something like that I did the experience that in possibility management, people are good in scanning. And I would be open to hear something from you. And she just asked me, what is my next step? So this was very important for me to know I have the wisdom inside myself. I don't need to tell the client where he or she is standing. The client has its own wisdom, and I can ask that, or I can activate that. That is another important point I wanted to share.
Yeah, thank you. And somehow it's probably also what resonates with me when you speak is that you can check your own assumption if you as a space holder would still have the aim to bring them somewhere. So research for yourself as you are resonating so much with this as a client. Probably you have this structure still inside of you. So this could be a hint for an EHP. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have struck some serious gold this week, and that for me has to do with group liquid states. I'm realizing that this is something I have researched without knowing it for the last 20 years or something like that, and been occupied with, even from my very youth, when I was interested in places like Findhorn, and particularly because I visited. I realize now that the thing that really drew me to Findhorn was that I saw them be able to go into a group liquid state and emerge with a different shape of their being. And I have sort of had an intuitive sense that that is what we need, because in the collective field, in the cultural field, they're like struts and beams that keep it together.
Ayan, from whom you are speaking when you speak about we need something. And I encourage you to really also focus on what is the purpose of sharing this, because we are here in the coaching training. It's about individual coaching and holding space for individuals. So where are you going with your
Well, this is what is really important for me at this stage. I don't mind not sharing it, but it's just really a gold mine of things of transformative power, because as our individual transformation is limited by the cultural context that we're in, and this is a really big thing, and this is something that had occupied me for many years, because I felt this pressure to always be pushed back by the cultural box. And so, but we don't have to. I don't have to.
Yeah, because it's a different topic, and I would love to talk to you about this, because I'm also thriving in groups and I'm researching with the Taurus technology, but that's a different space. Right? Like I would love to have you in the TT research group where exactly this is also a part of it, right? And now I'm interested in how is your research as a possibility coach going? Like what are the questions about this, about space holding for EHPs, for mimetic engineering, for a group like a newbie? Where are you there?
Well, what's important for me is that the reason I have my whole life not wanted to be a therapist is exactly because of this, because just working with this narrow band of the individual has always felt so incredibly boring to me, and because my sole desire is to break out of that cultural box. And so for me, it's a big thing to realize how I can do it, and this is what I have realized. And so it is a tremendous motivation for also working on the individual level, that I know what I am going to do and how I can do it. Apart from that, I've been extremely busy also with, we have 100 people coming this weekend, and we have had to clear out a lot of space to deal with practical stuff. So I
What
don't
did you
have
find out?
that much to report on the coaching side.
What did you find out? Is there, if you don't have something, it's super okay, but is there something you find out about coaching this week? If not, I would open the space for others to have
Yes.
questions.
Go ahead with somebody else.
Cool. Okay, thank you.
I had my first newbies 2 days ago.
How was it?
Yeah, when you ask how, then it's a big question. I did it with somebody I knew a little bit, and she didn't have much energy, and I was lucky to get her to. She was just about to cancel, so I just called her and, can we do it a little before? And I was there in what's called? I was there with her in the same room, so it was very nice for me not to be on Zoom for the first time. And I asked her about if
Venera, when you say nice, what is nice about? Like, can you be more precise, as so that we as a that you're shifting from sharing, that we all are with you as a space holder?
Yeah.
Cool.
It was yeah, it's made me more calm, because I think I haven't done an EOP on online, and I think that I sense people more when I'm present with them, and I can see what they do with their hands or their whole body. So that was nice. That was what was nice for me. It was calming for me. And I quit some of the most of the what's called explanations about the box and defense mechanisms, because I just find out that she did a lot of therapy, and so I just ask if it's okay to just go into it directly, because she knew about defense mechanism and so on. So I just explained about the bubble and the grounding cord, and the most necessary that was for the situation. So I did the grounding cord and the bubble, and then we started. And we went into a sadness and went to fear. And then what I see now, that was a little a question for you all. It's because I experienced something with her that seems like, for me, like a block, because it was like she said that she couldn't get into the sadness without the anger, and then we went into the anger, and we went from going into this, try to get deep into both sadness and anger, and I could see that it was like shifting. And I asked her at one point to take out the fear, and no, not the fear, the anger, and put it on a shelf, to go more directly deeper into the sadness. And she did that, but she couldn't get all out. And she said, there's something here. And it was what we have been talking about. Some kind of volcano, she said, energy here, like acid or something.
And what is your question?
It is
for us?
Yeah, how to recognize if it's a blockage that she put her, because we went back to the age of 0-year-old, and I thought, oh yeah, it could be a block. And then I thought afterwards, maybe, and he pointed out, maybe it's not a block, maybe it could also be some stock energy Yeah.
Yeah, that's a block, you know, like a stuck energy, it's a block.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So
ask your
it,
team, like ask your
yeah.
team, ask your question, like how, what I hear is your question is how to recognize a block. Cool. So
Yeah.
team, how do you do as a space holder, how do you recognize a block?
The first thing that I notice is when the person have sometimes putting their hand in some place of the body, and most of the times when the person is putting their hand in the body and I ask what is that, the person said there's something here, and then is slowly starting to make the questions like what is that, and the person says when sometimes when in the throat like I can feel going, and then it's starting to make questions. So one of the goals that I'm collecting about this block thing is when the person goes to the physical body and started to make questions to what is that, what is the material, and this is start to unfold by itself, like started to reveal step by step. And yeah, this is one of the most thing that I find it in the physical body to perceive it.
Yeah, and also to say something like I scan when the person start to feel the like feel the feeling, feel the emotion, and then there's a block. There's something that she does something, and I can see that there's something that is blocking the emotion. And sometimes I really could, like, for example, to feel when the person cannot access the sadness, for example, and there's a story about sadness in her life, in his life, for example, and there's something there, and then I start to ask, like, there's something there that you're not expressing this emotion. There's this sadness that you are feeling, but you cannot express. What is this? And sometimes it's a block, sometimes it's not, but I think that it connects also to what Gabriela was saying about the hand, like the person starts to put the hand or even something in the head, for example, in the feeling something in the legs.
Oh, thank you.
Sometimes a client will say something like, it's like there's something, it's like there's a ball, or it's like there's a weight, or it's like there, and they describe it. And it's, and then also sometimes when if they start feeling and then they don't, and then they start again, and I ask what's happening, that's often when they'll say, oh, it's like there's a, yeah, and it's anything that's in the way energetically of things moving.
I
also,
find
another thing is that in the life of the person, there is something going on and blocking the person, for example, to speak up, to do what the person really wants to do. And if this is the thing that is going on right now, then there is often a block that is, they are stuck and the person cannot do the next step because of this block.
Jesse, thank you, Isabel.
Thank you. The thing I had is not here anymore.
Okay, it dropped. It's gone. Okay.
It's gone.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else? Because it feels like
I want to talk about this you and me. Like when I shift to the you, I'm sensing also that the EHPs that I'm doing this last week, I'm I start to receive the things that I was feeling as something like a mission, like the things that I'm now noticing in my HPs. I see that it's something that I not just healing myself, but I'm healing other people that I will connect in this present and in the future. Like I want to just, to tell you, team, that I'm shifting the way of really doing also this work as a coach. Like really knowing that I have this source that comes in me, and I am this possibility to share with my experience. So with my client, for example, I noticed that he is going to places that I've been there, like, and it's not like projecting me, him, but more like that, really trusting the source that I received in my experience, and following this flow. Like, he's bringing things, and I just follow the flow of connecting to the source.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have something connect with that. I want to bring the conversation that we are having during the week about how when how was when I learned to feel anger, or how was for me when I had my first EHP, and I started to like came back in my memories. How was for me when I was starting to learn to feel, because I had this first session with the new being, the person that is new in the context, and the most for me was this patience, this presence to not. It's close what you said, Catherine, about trying to bring the person for another place, but being with the person where she was. And remember how it was for me to learn how I feel, how I started to my anger, for example. When I started to work with anger, there was so much sadness mixed it. And one thing that was so important for me was to work with the sadness also, and let the sadness come in the beginning, and not pressure so much about the anger, because the sadness was so glued, was so together. And as what I got it from that I want to share is how you, as space holder and as possibility coaching, have the source of your own life, like taking what you said, Marina, your own experience, your own healing, as the tool and the table of work to do with the client. Like, you started in the white faixa branca. Do you know how this word in English? Yes, faixa branca.
The belt, black belt, no, white belt.
White belt.
In the martial arts.
Yes, like you already went white belt before. And connecting with this part is invoking me this compassion and this grounding with the client to be where they are in this moment, and their own X on the map. And my practice, it's being not be hooked also, and use more sword than hard, like using more my sword when I'm the client, because I'm so easily hooked when I'm holding space in their stories. So this is something that I've been practicing. And one way that I'm practicing my sword of clarity, it's to, when I have an impulse of a question, or when I sense that energetically the person is going to the mind, I'm doing the practice to interrupt. And this is one of my practice of sword of clarity, like to interrupt and say it what I'm seeing. And there's so much fear in that. I have so much fear about interrupt and be something wrong, or I'm seeing wrong what the person is saying, and it's where I am now about this research.
Why is your fear there? What is your fear about?
The fear is about this emotion that I find out that if I point out with my clarity, probably my clarity will be too much and the person will leave. And especially when they are paying for me, I feel a lot of fear. I have this emotion to work on especially when someone is paying, I feel fear to bring so much clarity and be too much.
Because
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Be too much. You mean be too much the clarity?
What is the difference when they are paying and when they are not paying? What adds on when they are paying? That you are too much and so
we're not worth it. What I like is I'm debt with them in some way. Like there is this thing of they are paying and I'm debt. So I need to this debt in a way of I need to make be nice. And when I use my clarity, there is discomfort and they're boxed and they're gremlin freaking out most of the time. Yeah.
To be worth or not worth is a construct, and you can like dive into and see what is that kind of construct, where does it come from, to be worth or not.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, Gabriela.
Anything else? Who's next in the script? It's not me.
I'm next.
Great.
Yeah, what I sense this week is the people are still in school and in therapy, like hierarchical system.
Isabel,
so the experience, yeah.
What do you mean by that? Your client?
The clients, my clients. I sense this with every client that I have 4 clients, newbies, and all of them see the experiments that I offer as homework. And also what I sense that also when I have the process with them, and they had a really profound process the last time. With 2 clients, this happened last week. They had a really profound process, and then they said this week, oh, I cannot do that process again. I'm not ready to do that. And so I sense that there was some expectation how the process will be again or should be. And I invited them to navigate with the fear that they have about the process and what expectations are there, or how they think the process is or should be. And
how did it work, Isabel?
Yeah.
Because it sounds already a lot when you talk into this space. And my assumption, having newbies in this space, having no idea about possibility management, whoa, that's a lot. So how did it work? How did it work?
So with one client today, I just called her and we made a telephone call. And she was asking things. She asked again about the feelings, and it was more okay, and she was finding and searching for examples in her own life. Okay, with fear I had this experience, and it was more really, and it was also exploring what experiments does she want to do right now, and how, yeah, it was more like closing the eyes and feeling a sadness, but it was more calm. And I said, okay, if you have the fear, tell me about your fear. If you have the fear, how the process should be, tell me about that.
And do you have any question? Like, because it's not such a sharing space, what we are in, it's where's your edge? Where are you not be able to go further? Where are you hitting a wall so that we can support you in your journey? Was there something? And this is a question for all of you. Like, where's the edge? Where's the edge? Because there we can be with you and support you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have one client where I sense that she is in the space because I made the offer that I'm providing 3 EHPs, and she's there because of me. I'm sensing that she's more because of me and not because of her. And I talked with her today about that, and I still have the sense that she's not, she don't want to do that. She's just saying yes, but it doesn't feel authentic. Yeah, this is where I am on my edge.
Anything for Isabel? What she also how she approaches, like what are your scanners saying? What is supportive for her?
I see just feeling right now, Isabel, about that she's doing for you and not for the process.
Yeah, I feel fear that she is doing it for me. I don't want that. And I feel anger as well.
Isabel, I would say that's an emotional healing process that's blocking you from stepping into service to the part of her that has said yes to this, even if it's just a small part of her. And what I'm hearing is that you're seeing the part of her that's wanting to save you, or that's not being authentic with you, that's kind of not telling you what's really going on. And so if there's emotion there, it's blocking you from connecting to this other part of her, even if it's small, that's there for transformation and for healing.
Yes, thank you, Jessie. Yeah, that's really an emotion that is going on, and a part of me want to give up and say, okay, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, it sounds like that you have also an expectation that your client needs to be a specific way so that you are able to relate to them.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Great.
I have this question about what too much means, because I had a client ask me a couple of days ago. She had a really intense EHP with me a week and a half or 2 weeks ago or something, and then she went really liquid and just like spent the next like 2 weeks in total fear and total sadness, just totally liquid, and it was very hard for her. She was very challenged by that. And then I had already sent her information on a Rage Club that some of my team members are holding. And she asked me the question, do you think it would be too much for me? So there were two things going on. One was that she was giving her center away to me. And the other thing was that, what does this too much thing really mean? And that's what I was sitting with. What does too much mean? I mean, I mean, she doesn't know what Rage Club is, so she can't know that it's like this insanely powerful space of becoming, building inner structure, you know, and being able to actually handle your feelings. You know, you can use your rage to handle your feelings. So she doesn't know that. But anyway, I'm with this. What does it mean? Too much? Too much for what? And what would happen if I just did it? Like, what would I collapse? Would I die? Would I?
Did you ask her?
Yeah, that's what
it was her question.
Yeah. I mean, I went right there and I said, what does that really mean? Too much?
Okay.
And what I got was that she's still, it's really, like, most of her, I'd say 80% of her weight is on the foot that's standing in the map, the old map of emotion, of feelings. And so feeling at all, anything big, is too much. Mm-hmm. Anything big is too much. Mm-hmm. So, you know, feeling it, you know, twice in a week is a pile of too much, and feeling it every day for a whole 2 weeks is like, you know,
a volcano.
So, so that's what I got, is that in that case it meant she was really on with most of her weight standing in the map, the old map of feelings. And I guess where I went with that is, okay, so how do you, I mean, how to approach that as a space holder? Like how to respond to that as a space holder? And I mean, I gave more distinction on Rage Club and what it can be, and how it might actually meet her there in that place of feeling overwhelmed by her emotions. And also just like this distinction that, you know, it's not just a short hop, skip, and a jump to get to the new map of feelings. It's practice, 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 practice. And it's a building of resilience in the nervous system, of being able to say, oh my gosh, that was 70% fear and I'm okay. I mean, some people have never had that experience of 70% fear and I'm okay. And so building that resilience in the nervous system so that you can go there and come, and you can pendulate between big feelings and different sized feelings and emotions and still be okay. And the nervous system doesn't know that. That's a possibility. The adult nervous system doesn't know that.
And what I hear is also your question: how would your scanner know that it's not too much, or is it more what you're asking? Because I think when a person says too much, it's so individual, right? It's like it's a self reference point, what they are referring to. Too much to what? To the pain, yes. To time, to their circumstances, to their people around. They have always something to relate to, where this point of too much comes from. What I more hear is this: how would you know, and how do you approach as a space holder this point?
Well, in this case, when she says too much, what I hear is it's too much for my survival strategy. It's too much for my box. My box is falling apart. My box has gone liquid. So, I mean, and I think that's maybe my impulse here is, or my suspicion is, that that's what too much usually maybe means, is this is too much for my box. Because too much, when it comes to emotional healing and transformation, I mean, I just don't buy it. Like, it's too much for my being. I don't know. I don't think so. It's too much for my box. I mean, I don't know. Maybe other people have experiences here where too much is a thing that is about something else. But when somebody tells me it's too much, it's almost like I hear that it's too much for your box, but okay, yeah, any feelings are too much, right?
So anything else from the group?
Yeah.
I have this question, Jesse. Have you ever recorded this distinction of what is too much and what is the real energy, for example, of the rage, and how you can really get like this energy of the rage that can be seems that is too much, but then you go out from that concept, because it's too much. It seems like the edge of the box, or the like, and everyone has the too much. I have this too much. I have this the other person. And when you use the power of the emotion, you can really see what is. Yeah. Because I was hearing you, and it was so clear for me when you start to explain about the work of the rage. And maybe if the person sees something about that, she will really start to understand what you mean. Like, for instance, the video that Anne-Chloé sent us today about this man that is talk about the fear, and what is fear about? What is the fear? So really, it can be, when you really go to the emotion, then it's not too much, because it's new. So I'm just asking if you have ever recorded something about that, and also about this too much in this, in this modern culture life, because of course the modern culture feeling is too much. So how do you go out from this concept and really start to use this energy?
My experience with too much was that this is a sensor for me that my child part is like freaking out. This overwhelmed thing is, every time when I hear this overwhelmed too much, this is my child. And I experienced that my gremlin likes to keep me there. Like, he wants to overwhelm me, so I stop everything and I stop the and I don't want to do that anymore, and I give a fuck. So this is my experience with too much. And also, really to what I saw with my client is that she also had this thing that was too much. I cannot do it again. And I sensed in that moment that she wants to have, or she needs now, more matrix to hold that.
Mm.
And if there is not enough matrix, she will really be overwhelmed again. And so I started to talk with her and to give more distinctions.
Thank you. Charlotte, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, thank you, Isabel. That I was going to say something about that. And then the other thing that came to me was that I think sometimes too much time in the underworld can be too much time in the underworld. Like, I remember when I first got to PM, and there was like a lot of gremlin work and EHP work, and EHP is not necessarily underworld, but it's like your strategies and going back and kind of re-feeling a lot of the things that you were trying not to feel anymore. And so I think swimming in those waters, I have a question of like, how much of your time can one, or is it beneficial to spend in that space and being disconnected from the upper world? And I know that like a lot of this work is underworld based, in my opinion, and there is the upper world and the bright principles in this, but I've noticed that like less time is focused on playing in that world in this context. So sometimes what I've experienced in myself and then working with other people is that to be really mindful of like not going too overboard with the underworld, because they also want to like live their lives and, you know, like be here and have connection presence and joy and blah blah blah, and bright things also happening. So this too much thing could also have to do with too much in the swampy, in some of the underworld explorations, like that can be, yeah, I don't know, it's like can be a lot, especially for people that are really like sensitive or, you know, soft and like quieter. I don't know, something like this.
Yeah, exactly, Charlotte. I resonate very much with what you're saying, because when I was in Poland for the 5 days lab, the fourth day I was really like, I felt it's too much, and I had to get out and just lay on the grass and be myself. I was overwhelmed, and I thought afterwards, it felt so intense that some part of me said, okay, I have to wait at least half a year before I do that again, because it was just so hard for me. And yeah, we were also 50 people in a room, and there was a lot of motions and screamings. And at that moment, I was not so strong in making my bubble, and I was very sensitive, so it was too much at that time. But I must also say that I was very, very happy about and felt a lot of joy about being there. And I was not like afterwards that I should not have done it. I got really a lot from it.
And how do you translate this? And like it's you don't need to answer this, but really translate your own experience into speaking as a space holder for us. And for me, what is happening when clients are asking this question, don't you think this is too much? This is what I heard, Jessie, right? Like, oh my gosh, I had an intense process, and you even requested, proposed the Rage Club, and then it's like, is it not too much? This is what I hear. And I think trust your scanner that they would be ready, but still they will decide. It's not about like I'm scanning them, giving, and what you also said, Isabel, sometimes they would need to get more distinctions, that their mental body, which is thinking them out of going further, that they would need a bit more food for understanding and getting matrix on a distinction level. But still, like I would say, experience is building matrix, and going into the territory of kind of a Rage Club, it's this is exactly what then people would need. Like I would do the same. I would still say, okay, your box freaks out, but this is where you need to go.
What
And
also
of
comes
course
up,
they need to decide, they will decide, is it too much, and their box will freak out, and the gremlin, they allow their gremlin to stop them.
for me,
Can I
it's
say-
also the time you need for integration. That's also important. That's what I feel like. Sometimes I feel, oh, it's too much, and then I'm like, oh, but I have to really integrate something that I can really integrate it in my life, and that's what I can link to. And sometimes it's too much, because first I have to integrate something before I can do something else. Yeah, but that's
In the direction what you were saying, Christine, also I want to add something that I'm researching about the experiments. About like what I'm noticing with the newbies, at least the two that I started, it's how to create a matrix, for example, to hold the space for emotional healing process. Because the thing that I'm researching is the possibility coaching is not just about the emotional healing process, it's about how this bunch of tools that is possible to use with the client. And the experiments, for example, in the first session, I did this experiment to scan and ask also like what is most holding you back in your life today. And one of the clients, for example, said about the focus. She had really difficult to focus in her life. And in this first session, we work a little bit in that, and I bring some distinction And through that, I create 2 experiments to her. And when you say this too much, also, Jesse, what landed me is how to help the client to create matrix with the landing the distinction in the first session about became a experimenter, a person that who researching about itself. Because in this old map of healing of therapy, there's so much this thing that you need to fix yourself. You come to here and you'll be fixed. And in this new map where the person take responsibility for their own feelings and for their own transformation, how to provide these foods, this value through experiments, for example, to go into and experiment based where they are. So this is another thing that comes to me also, not just about ask about the Rage Club, but based on what she experienced, experimentation to her daily life. And yeah, that's what I had to add.
Thank you, Gabriela. The person I worked with who asked me about it being too much, she then asked me at the end about, like, do you have any ideas about how I can, I don't remember how her words were, but it was something like deal with this. It's like manage my emotions or something like that. And what I realized was that she was inviting me to do something for her that is not my archetypal lineage. My archetypal lineage, she was asking me to take care of her and tell her what was too much for her. And what I said is that's not what I offer. This is how I responded. I was like, that's not what I offer. I don't offer you advice about, what's too much or what's not. And I don't offer you like solutions on how to kind of stop feeling again. Essentially what she wanted. She was like, how do I feel less? This is too much. How do I feel less? And what I get about this and hearing everybody talk is there's something, and you called it building matrix, Gabriela, but I would call it more specifically building inner structure. Because I think for me, the distinction is too much is when a process that somebody goes through just doesn't stick anywhere. It just doesn't have anywhere to land or stick inside them because they don't have the inner structure to hold it. And maybe that doesn't even happen. I don't know. But I get the sense that I've watched some people go through processes before, and they do some massive intense process, but then it doesn't seem like it changed. It doesn't seem like they changed. It doesn't seem like any new commitment was made to themselves. And that's where I think maybe there's this question, the line, that's where I would put this line of too much, that they didn't have the inner structure to hold it. And so I've really been focusing on this with all my clients and the group that I facilitate after this tonight with a group of people it's a similar course. And it's about, okay, how do I navigate this going forward, but also simultaneously be building inner structure? Okay, how do I keep going liquid, but how do I build the inner structure as I go so that my commitments stick, so that my practices stick, so that there's some kind of structure or web inside of me where there's enough vertices and points of intersection that things hold in place. And what I noticed is that's what's really, really lacking in almost everyone I work with and in myself, is this inner structure to help the transformation really hold and stick and create change in pattern, change in behavior, change in my life.
Yeah.
What is the difference of matrix and inner structure? Like the main difference?
I don't know.
Yeah. Go ahead. Like, I have my distinction, so go ahead.
I'm passing to you, Christine.
Like, for me, there's not so much difference, I would say. Like, still building matrix is kind of the matrix is built into the inner structure. let me say it like this, is how do you call it? There was this picture where the flowers grow, the roses grow into this fence thing.
Trellis.
Yeah, and
Trellis.
this is kind of the inner structure, and the roses are the matrix, and this is what is growing, but somewhere the matrix must be rooted into something, and at the same time they are supporting each other. I don't have yet a perfect picture, because this was a picture I got years ago, and I'm also questioning it since the expression of inner structure came. It was like, this is actually more fitting than matrix, you know, but still matrix is the energetics, or the energetics flow is this, is the awareness, is the awareness of the inner structure, or how to apply the inner structure, and yeah, how to use the inner structure. This would be more the matrix, like what do I do then with the inner structure? And this comes, I think, Jesse, you said it also, it's about also building resilience, and resilience comes out with going into the unknown, into the fear territory, using experiments to build new streams of habits, of reference points in yourself, that you see what is working and what is not working, and how to walk differently, what to try out and fail forward, and stand up and move again, and saying, okay, this is like, be alive again. Before it was only a solid thing, or something what was repeating, but to move forward again. This is also what builds resilience, and the inner structure is then applied. It's applying a new inner structure, and while applying, it can unfold itself more and more into a bigger inner structure. It's almost, I had this, instead of barriers, there will be highways. It's like to unlock the blocks, and instead of having blocks, it's unfolding into an inner structure which is more a road where energy can flow into, and it's not stuck.
Yeah. I have one more image that comes from just kind of hearing you speak, Christine, and that is that when we're babies, we are absolutely dependent on outer structure, completely 100% dependent on outer structure. So inner structure is basically, I no longer have to, grasp on to dependencies, outer dependencies, in order to live. And so I can actually have enough inner structure that I can actually be in free fall, and I don't even need to grab onto anything. And I can be okay in free fall because I have enough inner structure. But if I don't have any inner structure and I'm in free fall, I'm grasping like a child for someone else to tell me what's too much, what I should do, what my next step is, all these things, giving my center away and asking everyone around me to be my parents for me. So I think I just see the shift from outer to inner as we move into adulthood.
Yeah.
The matrix will be the parachute. If you're falling. Yeah, because I still have this, like, I could imagine you falling and then trying to grab something, but then you have the matrix of to have this.
Yeah, to navigate also.
Yeah, to have the not control, but you have something that connects also to the wind, to.
Yeah, like
I want to put one more question out there that's really, really big for me right now as a space holder, and it draws off from this, which is, how do you do it? How do you build inner structure? And I have a few ideas, but I have more like blank canvases here in front of me than I have, you know, established paths or doorways for doing this. Because honestly, in my life, I have built very little inner structure. And
What do you mean?
well, like I notice I'll do healing processes and they won't stick. Like they won't stick. The thing, I'll revert back as if it never happened. And I sense that this because I don't have enough inner structure to hold it and to kind of shift into the new paradigm, the new that's been opened up, and step into the new form of myself, change shape, really. It's like the skeleton upon which I change shape. So how do you do it? How do you build inner structure? And I don't know, maybe this is, I don't want to take up the whole hour for this, but this is a really big question for me. And I would love if whoever else is curious about this to open another space to talk about this too.
I'm in there.
I am.
Okay.
And I want to bring something that comes now. I don't know if there's another impulse, but I want to bring sharp. Is the question when you said how to create inner structure comes how a baby started to walk, for example. And a baby starts walking. So what I've been experiencing until today about inner structure is this experimentation of doing, even because of course there is the emotions that sometimes is holding back. But as soon that I started to do the experiment about something, the inner structure started to create by itself. And I want to give example when I was doing my first work talk. I had a lot of emotions about do a work talk. Fear of people will not appear, what people will think about me. And while I was with these emotions, and I did the work talk even with the emotions. And as soon that I did it, I had something to the emotional healing process grab it. So works so much for me that I did the work talk, and the emotional healing process grab it because I create this structure to the process grab it because I did this step. So is this being in the edge of the box and doing experiments. And it's really, for me, it's so much close with becoming experimenter. For me, it's one of the paints that I will throw in this white canvas and creating a resilience to become experimenter, because everyone went to the school and there's this association that so much people have resistance to do experiments because it's heavy, because it's hard, because I don't have time, because it's bad, and don't have this I would say child, but it's not child, it's this curiosity to what happened if I try in this way, what happened if I do the work talk and no one comes and I speak alone, and all this experimentation come, and I'm in for going this researching also, maybe in the first cell or in another call.
I'll invite another call around this.
Thank you.
And a child also, when a child is there, the child is going, is experimenting, is doing, and this is like a inner step. The child know what is next.
Yes, and Jessie will open another space for that. I think this is like, I would like to round it up. Jennifer, how is it going in Jennifer land? I want to hear you.
You want to hear me?
Yeah, I miss your voice in the space.
Okay, Jennifer land.
Coaching land.
Coaching land.
Of course.
Yes. I didn't have a client in between last meeting. I have my client tomorrow actually, so I cannot refer back to anything that worked or didn't work. Yeah, nothing to bring in actually at the moment. No.
Okay. And what I heard is that you do, you're working with anger and you do boxing, right? Is it this client that you're combining boxing and body movement with anger work?
Yes.
Cool. Like if you want to do that, to reach out to Jennifer and experiment with her.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
Great. And let us know what is working, what is not working, what needs to come first, so that it has an effect and it's not only punching this thing, you know, and that it builds matrix. Like I'm also interested in hear your reports about how does it really go and applied and not wishful thinking, but what sticks. And write an article about it best. This would be my invitation. But first, I want to hear, and we want to hear, like I want to hear in this space. How does it work? Cool.
I'm also interested to hear some ways of how to get into the fear, because I'm doing the 3-3 and I just try different kinds of methods that I just find out myself. How can I get more angry? How can I get in contact with the anger? And yeah, I would like to hear possibilities for that.
Thank you.
I have another question. I already put it in the village chat, and it is about holding space for someone I have a story about. And it was, we have a team, and I said, yes, I will hold space this day. And during the lunchtime, I had a conversation with one of the team, and I wanted to clarify my story about her. And she asked me then, well, how are you able to hold space for me when you have such stories about me? And this question made me think a lot. And I want to ask you if you know this phenomenon, and even if yes, how you are dealing with that.
You said this question made me think a lot, but I think that you also feel something.
Yes. There was fear arising. Fear of, I fear that probably I don't get it right. Till now, I had the assumption, of course, I can hold space of you. And now there is fear, perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps the way of holding space changes when I have a story.
So that, what would happen then?
I perceive that when I have a story, I can't see the person or the being, or I see like through glasses. I see my picture of this person.
And then how was it to hold space?
And well, at the end, I didn't hold space.
Okay. Hmm.
Catherine, do you know the process? I have a story about you.
Yes, we did that.
You did that, both of you, together first.
during the lunchtime.
Yeah.
And I told her my stories about her.
And did you tell her the benefit for your gremlin of creating those?
Yes.
And then her response was, how can you hold space for me if you have a story about me?
Yes.
So that sounds to me like she was hooked, and that was a gremlin response. And so in other words, she wasn't saying, how I'm curious to know how you can hold space. She was saying, you can't hold space for me if you have this story about me. And so it sounds like she went into emotions about your story about her. And then it's not up to you whether or not she's available. It sounds like she made herself unavailable. It wasn't about you. That's my sense. I mean, just kind of scanning the situation.
Thank you.
Oh, cool. And you gave yourself the possibility about sharing your story. Does everyone knows how to do this process? I have a story about you. Anyone?
I'm not sure. I think I did it, but I don't remember.
Okay, but everyone did it once or minimum once. Okay, cool.
I
Great.
think so.
Yeah. So does it answer your question, Katrin?
Not fully. I also had a reflection about, isn't it like that I always have stories?
We are story makers, yes. The question is how much do you, as a space out, how much do you put the story in front of you?
Yes, and as long as I'm not hooked by something, that's my opinion. As long as I can hold the space, as long as I am standing grounded and bubbled and I'm not hooked, then I can hold space. That's my assumption, and I would like to prove that with you.
Who can give you, like, which part in you needs approval from us, Katrin?
The part who is still in school, who
okay. Have your
okay.
answer. You have your answer. This is what I say. You already have your answer.
I have my answer, yes. Okay, good. I do a EHP about it.
Something comes to me, Catherine, which is like, do you have a story that your story is true about her? And if you don't have a story that your story is true about her, then one response to her question, how can you hold space for me? It would be to say, I don't believe my story. You know, like I don't actually think it's true. It's just a story. That's how I can hold space for you. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm trying to save you here, but I just thought of that as an interesting response that would take it away from them.
Yes, and it's a good distinction.
And Katrin, I love to hear about your researches about that, because I'm researching also with stories. For a time, when you sent that in the village, I gave you possibilities and feedback and coaching. Did you see that?
Not yet.
Okay, because I posted a long text
with
my with all that I found out about stories.
Wow, cool.
And I love to hear answer. Because I'm on an article right now, and I would love to hear your experiences with that.
Cool.
Thank you.
Great.
I have another question. It's related about how do you hold space when the person go in a process in a different ages? Like, for example, when a person go to a mom's belly, or it's a little baby, or what is the difference when the person go when she's 7 years old and when she's 15 years old or when she is adult. And like it's a process about, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, or the job that the person quit or something. Yeah, that how it's this difference about how they hold space when it's different way ages that the person going into the process.
Yeah, my experience with this client is that this person brings something that in like very recent, and I could sense also that it's also connected to many other parts. So, but I don't have this so much this pressure of reaching to the part of the childhood, for example. Maybe it's just see and navigate in that moment, maybe the recent moment, and just start to create this connection to other experience. Because that part could really have a lot of goals there in this recent experience, for example. So in my experience, I remember that I had this person that always brings something about recent things in AHPs, and then after 2 sessions, she started to connect to things, because I start to ask also about experiences in her childhood, because she couldn't remember her childhood, for example. And so with the experience, she started to connect, and she started to feel more also, because she started to have this, to go to this liquid state of connecting to the experience. So just to navigate, I would say, like navigate in this, maybe could be a long trip or a short trip.
Yeah, but what I hear Gabriela asking is like the approach of approaching an adult or a child or a baby in the belly is probably a different approach. This is what I got, what you're asking. So
Yeah.
you have different experiences that processes like how you approach it differently. Or for example, a past life. When someone is an adult is probably different. Like I experience it so different than when someone is going back into the belly or is a baby. Because what I experience is that mainly when people are going back into their childhood and when they are just newborns, very young, it's a lot about I'm abandoned, I'm alone, and there's so much fear and sadness and anger in their system, and this needs to be expressed. But then what happened also to me is that only feeling it through and not doing anything about it, but just to say, okay, you made this decision, how do they relate into your adult life now, was not really 100% soothing and like calming this part, this baby part. So what I figured out is that when they are in this very young state, what I let them do is to, for example, ask the adult self and ask the person to take the little baby, so that the baby is no longer alone. Like this is a crucial part, and this is what I don't do with past life. There is no one hugging the person, like because they are adult in themselves, even they are in the past life, or when they are adult in this life. But as a baby, mainly, or as a small child, right? It's about this hugging, holding, but mainly when they are babies and not can even speak, not stand, like just screaming and being alone. And then this holding is so crucial to integrate, and first of all to shift the dynamic from because they are still in this, I need someone outside. I need someone who's coming from the outside. But then shifting into the adult perspective and grabbing this little baby in you brings the disidentification. It's like it empowers the adult self part into, I'm holding space for this part now. It's no one out there. It shifts also the kind of this victim part from staying in the victim mode, like, oh, poor me, I'm alone, into, oh, I'm holding space for me. So this shift is what is very often necessary in processes with babies. For example, what I see, which is not necessary when they are, in a past life or when they are adults. And what I also see is an important question I'm asking when they are going back, for example, when they are teenagers. Then I'm asking, do you see yourself from the inside or from the outside? And the hint is that when they are seeing themselves from the outside, then probably like what I see so far is that the experience inside of them was so strong and so painful and so threatening that a part went out. And so that then when this part is out, they cannot go back. They cannot go to the first kind of original point when this pattern was created. So what I ask them is to come back fully into first position, that they look through their eyes. And when they are doing it, very often they are naturally moving kind of back in time when it really happened, when it started. So these are two hints I'm using, and it's not always applied, but sometimes I have this, oh, I need to ask this question. Do you see yourself from the outside or from the, like, from first perspective or from third perspective? Yeah.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have also an observation about what I sensed when the people are in the belly, that there are often an energy of fear or another feeling that the child, the baby, integrate, and it's not the fear of the baby, it's more the fear of the mother.
Yeah.
And there is this process of returning the fear back to the mother, because it's not your own energy, it's the energy of the mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a swimming pool of fear, and it's important also to share this and to bring these distinctions while they are in this state. And say, you're bathing in the fear of your mom. This is not your fear. This was your mom's fear. Yeah.
Sometimes I just ask the question, just to the person's body and emotional body, just tune in without going to your mind. What percentage of this fear belongs to you, and what percentage to your mother? And oftentimes it's like 90% is my mom's, or like 80%.
Yeah,
usually surprisingly high, the number. And really, it's not, I mean, this is a distinction about that specific process. It's not the actual fear. It's the stories that I'm putting my fear into.
Could you say more about that?
Fear is like like an unlimited energy, archetypal energy that is just unlimited. And the actual energy of fear is neutral. It has no story. But what I got from my mother was the stories she had her fear about. Like, if you can think of the fear as electricity and the story as the program, the circuitry, the program that it's running into and powering. It's powering a story. So I was powering my mother's stories with my fear. And so when I give her those constructs back, I actually liberate the energy, the neutral energy of fear for my own life in my body, in my life.
Yeah.
It's like this, I would also say it's kind of this, the suffering. It's her suffering influenced your suffering, like the energy plus a story, and then the pain plus the story is the suffering. And so her suffering, you adapted her suffering, her stories, her, yeah. So it's not only the pain, but yeah, cool. And would you say, would you bring a bit more about when you say also giving it back? Because I'm doing this quite often. It's like, okay, because it's such a classic, also with newbies, and when they are starting to work with their parents, that this is definitely a part what it needs to be done. It's like giving everything back to mom and give everything back to dad. So Jesse, do you want to say something about that, how you do it and how does it work?
Yeah, I had a client recently who, I think it has to come, for me, it has to come organically from the person's realization that they've been living a life that's not their own, really. So it has to click for them. I can't force that to happen. So when somebody clicks with that, oh my God, that's what my mom wanted for me. That's what my dad, I don't even want that. I don't even know what I want. Or, or this thing about feeling these fear constructs from my mother when I was in her belly, and then thinking, and eventually just thinking that all that belongs to me, that click opens up the possibility that the person can give it back. And so I guess I don't go hunting for it necessarily, but I really have a radar for when that click is there for somebody, when they're at that threshold of realizing that they've been doing something, living a life that is not authentically theirs, that is for their parents, a choice that was made for their parents, to say, to save their parents or whatever. There's so many things that a person can give back to their parents to get their parents off of their workbench. Because I guess I do have an agenda. My agenda is get your parents off your workbench, put them behind you where they belong. And that's, I think, the bigger picture here.
Yeah,
Get your
cool.
parents off.
Thank you. Yeah, and what I do is sometimes opening the door, and then if they pass, okay. If not, something needs to happen before. But opening the door is like, it looks like you took on a lot from your parents or from your mom, and then something can ripple. But yeah, I agree. Thank you.
And when happened to me, a client, I used the dragon speaking, and I really could sense this coming from his resource, start to feel what he was, like who I am, what I want. And he started to feel like I want this. It's not my, like, and it's different from my mother. It's different from my father. So I want this. This is me. So really separate who I am and who they are.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this exploration. We have 8:30. We are closing the space for today. And next week, there will be Devin coming for the non-linearity space, doing experiments. So put on your magic shoes and come into the space and become an experimenter before you enter the space. This is an invitation. And then with Vera, I spoke, I think I confused it, I'm not sure, but I had the thought that I was confusing it from today's session, but she will come on the 23rd for the Q&A. Cool. So see you next week. And
Just as, next week we will start at 6, right?
yes, it's
Okay.
it's a
6.
2.5 hour. Yeah. Great.
Okay.
I will send some experiments.
I have to leave. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next time.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, team.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.